Greetings, good afternoon. On behalf of NISM School of Governance, this is Vedi K.N. Vaidyanathan welcoming you for this program on risk management in COVID world. The biggest decision point that Mr. Narasimhan of the School of Governance of NISM and I had to make was on deciding on the title line. Should it be risk management in post-COVID world or risk management in COVID world? And the answer came to both of us in a jiffy before you could say Shri Rama Jayam or Hallelujah. The answer came to us to say that we don't know how long this is going to last. So there is no point in speculating on a post-COVID world. Let us just talk about risk management in where we are in, which is in COVID world. The purpose and objective of the session is not to help every individual corporate, every individual industry with a risk management, with a listing of risks, a risk register for their particular business or their particular industry. You, in your business, in your industry, are best positioned to assess the risks to your business. The objective of this session is to give you what I call an outside-in perspective. An outside-in perspective from who I believe are some of the sharpest minds in the business, people who I regard personally and professionally very highly, who have a definitive point of view on how things could evolve. Before I get any deeper into the subject, it's my very special privilege to welcome Mr. S.K. Mohanty from SEBI. Mr. S.K. Mohanty, whole-time member of SEBI. I invite you, sir, to deliver the opening remarks and get this program started. Over to Mr. Mohanty. But before he starts, there is a gentleman who you can't see, who's true to his name of God. You can hear him but not see him. His name is Krishnamurti from NISM. He will give a warning bell 2 minutes before your time allotment. And the warning bell will sound like he will figure it out. And at the end of your time slot, there will be a bell which will be slightly longer. And that my request to my panelists is to adhere to time limits so that we have enough time for audience participation. As far as the audience is concerned, there is a chat mode available. Please start posting your questions, comments, any points you may wish to make through the session, and I will keep picking it up. I have a notebook and pen with me to make copious notes through the process. Over to you, Mr. Mohanty.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Dear friends, at the outset, welcome to this webinar organized by NISM. NISM, as most of you know, is an educational initiative of SEBI, and its primary objective is capacity building and professionalizing the securities market landscape in India. I would encourage each one of you to kindly visit our website to know more about the activities and forthcoming programs that NISM has in stock for the coming year. Friends, COVID-19 pandemic has really become a game changer. It has reset the normal life of every individual in the world on several fronts. Even a toddler today is taking classes online to learn, and youngsters and professionals are using web technology for learning and knowledge upgradation. I think at present the entire educational system throughout the world is on online mode. Friends, some the COVID-19 has really inflicted a lot of commercial pain and taken away livelihood from many. Some industries have lost relevance of their earlier business models, while some industries certainly have found their services more useful and lucrative. Post-COVID world is bound to be certainly different from what it was pre-COVID. For a student, for a housewife, for a professional, for a technocrat, for an industrialist, all the like. Everyone is going to have a new normal life after post-COVID. That is for sure. All the experts in the field, they predict about it. Risk, as it was understood earlier in the conventional sense, may not be all that relevant now. Business continuity plans, arrangements, and alternatives designed earlier were primarily based on either a possible natural disaster or failure of technology. It was never built upon the premise of a prolonged severe discontinuity or disruptions of supply chain or loss of demand or disruptions in the dealer's network that would impede the products from reaching the ultimate clients. The worst risk in present times, as I understand, is that of information asymmetry between ground staff and senior management, and also between senior management and board of directors. An enterprise with multiple vendors supplying various inputs and raw materials may not have complete information about the vendor's health, its ability to maintain and sustain supplies as in when production activity is revived. Since due to movement restrictions, ground reality check is adversely affected, and whatever is reported by the ground staff or the vendor itself has to be accepted as final. Similarly, on the output side, ground reality about the dealers is dependent on what is reported by the dealers and has to be accepted without much of validation. Even if production is revived, crossing all the challenges, will the output be absorbed by the market is a question for which there is no clear-cut answer as yet. All lessons learned about consumer psychology so far may have to be revisited since one is not sure if consumer prefers to be cautious and hold back cash or the consumer will bounce back to fulfill the deprivation caused by COVID pandemic. Friends, COVID-19 has instilled some kind of a fear of virus, a fear of disease without cure in everyone's mind. There are talks of new virus, new disease observed in China and elsewhere, in Kazakhstan, for that matter. Day before yesterday, there was news, something has come out of Kazakhstan, where Chinese citizens have been warned by China government to be careful about that pneumonia, which is more riskier than even COVID. With the COVID experience, the question is, will the commercial entities go into caution overdrive or will grab any green shoot opportunities that they may get on their way right now? Both the scenarios would definitely define risk in different ways. The China isolation, migrant labor, liquidity crisis, impact of stimulus packages announced in India and elsewhere, travel restrictions, work from home reality, technological innovations to make it more user friendly so that it can be used in all walks of life today. All these have added to the complexity of risk management paradigm today. We really don't know which one is good, which one is bad, which is to be adopted. Every industry, every sector specific consumer, every sector specific producer has to have a different set of risk parameter to follow. I think it will be far more different from the conventional risk parameters that all along the businessmen and the professionals and the industries have been following so far. The experts addressing today in this webinar will certainly bring different dimensions relating to the risk management during COVID and post-COVID time. I thank all the experts for having accepted our request to come today to speak and interact with you all. And I also thank all the participants who have logged in today to have their interaction and also listen to the panel experts. And I'm sure at this end of this webinar, all of us will go back home with a different perspective and understanding about the risk management. I won't spend much time between the panel's experts and you. I'm as eager as you to listen to them. With this, I thank all of you once again. And on behalf of NISM, we promise we will conduct such programs in future. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohanty. You made a reference to the fact that past models will not be relevant. It reminds me of the standard disclaimer in mutual fund, which nobody reads. Past performance is no indication of future returns. Navneet is smiling. But I also want to, at this stage, make a reference to another gentleman in the 2000s, and he was lampooned for this expression. He came up with three terms: that we are living in a world of knowns, of known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. The gentleman was Donald Rumsfeld under George Bush Jr. And I think the first, immediately after he said that, within 2 or 3 years, you had the 2008 global financial crisis. But the global financial crisis still was a financial crisis that touched other parts. What we are going through is touching every part of the world. There has been no island in the world which has been spared. So we're talking about something which is once in a 100-year or 200-year phenomenon that's affecting the world. So clearly, conventional risk matrices, conventional risk frameworks will not do the job. But for us to get a sense of what are those things that we are grappling with, I want to invite my first expert in the panel, Dr. Anant Nageshwaran. His bio has already been shared with you. Dr. Anant Nageshwaran, Anant to most of us and to two of us on the panel, he's a dear batchmate. Anant, economists, I think it was President Johnson said, give me a one-handed economist. So I'm going to use that as a cue to say, I'm appealing to the one-handed economist in you to give us a perspective on A, how is the global macro playing out, and B, what would that have an impact on India, as much as you can visualize, quantify, objectivize, both in the near term as well as in the medium to long term. Anand, there will be a warning bell. Hopefully, Krish has figured out how to do that 2 minutes before your time limit of 20 minutes. Over to you.